hello, Tide fans. Welcome to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Sean Taylor. Got my buddy Jimmy in the studio with me. Maurice Booth's with us on our Zoom call, cooling in his sunglasses.
Sunny day in Panama City.
That's right. So let's jump right in. Maurice, we had several questions before the year started, threw some things out there. But the first thing I'm going to ask, which I know everyone's thinking that I'm going to ask about our quarterback, but I'm not going to do that just yet. What was your take on our defense, Maurice, our new defensive coordinator?
I'm glad you went there, and I would start the conversation that way as well. I thought the defense, and I hope it's just not my desire or bias to think that I wanted them to improve. I saw a lot of improvement. And what I loved the best was when they blitzed, there was a purpose. They had stunts. It wasn't just sending a linebacker to run into a guard. It was done with an intention of a few scrapes. And I think last year, Sean, you were talking about the Lawson kid that's the starting Mike right now, middle linebacker.
Yep.
That's a bad boy right there.
Agreed.
He's starting to make it.
Agreed. I told somebody this weekend that he's the next CJ Mosley, not just because he's wearing 32.
Right. He's got the speed.
He has that same style.
He's got the speed and he's got the anger, it looks like, too.
Yeah. Jimmy, take on the defense.
I mean, I agree. I know it's game one, so, you can't get too excited. I'm not ready to crown a national championship. But, man, you could just see the difference in the attitude. But also, for me, it was, did you ever see us kind of frantically trying to line up and get a call from the sideline? And we're looking this way and the ball's being snapped, guys aren't being set. I didn't see any of that. Didn't have any stupid penalties on that side of the ball. No, we had that one, I guess, hands to the face, which, again, that kind of stuff will happen, I guess. Fact of the matter, that there was pressure there. But man, I loved it. I don't remember missed tackles. I don't remember missed assignments. I don't remember busted coverages. Now, granted, obviously they ran down and scored on us at one time, but they didn't have a ton of yards. So again, I was really pleased with the overall, again, just preparation, the tackling. You name it. I was pleased with it.
I was going to mention two things. One was the communication. You didn't see a bunch of guys looking to the sideline at the last minute, wanting to know what was going on or where they should be. I wasn't yelling at the TV going, get in position.
Right.
That wasn't taking place. But the other thing that I, liked was the way we covered their receivers. We challenged just about every throw. There wasn't a lot of times that their guys were wide open, where we're going, where in the world is the defense? Just about everything was challenged. And even when their quarterback, which I thought did a pretty good job with his feet sometimes, even when he, would use his feet to extend a play or whatever, we were still locked on to the receivers for the most part. They're Division I players as well, and they're going to make some plays, and they did. But they didn't make many. We were in coverage. We were where we were supposed to be. I just felt like it was a very from the front seven to the safeties. Just communication was really, really good. It appeared as though everyone knew what was going on. We didn't look frantic. I just thought it was a pretty clean game.
And another thing too. Didn't really see a drop off when we were running guys in and off, on and off the field.
Yeah.
That was another thing. So I think our depth, showed up. Even though again, it's
first
game against Tennessee State. But anyway, I just like to say, and not to mention too, or not to forget, the 2 turnovers that we created.
Yeah.
Did we create 2 turnovers at all in a game last year? We didn't create many at all.
It's hard to think about that.
I don't remember having multiple turnovers in a game last year. I'm not saying we didn't, but
Maurice, outside of Deontay Lawson, who, I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but I said he was going to be a beast. But tell me somebody else that you were impressed with on that side of the ball after watching the game Saturday.
Well, I always liked Kool-Aid McKinstry. I thought, I just think he's a stud. I like our middle guard, Otis. I thought I think he's All-American material. And they mentioned, I believe the other night, how much weight he's dropped since he's been at the university. So that shows his dedication. I think for the first time, I know I didn't see it last year, but I hate to say this, and I don't want to give them the kiss of death. Since 2020, they played as a team. They played with a purpose. To Jimmy's point, I didn't see any confusion. I didn't once. I kept looking for somebody to look towards the sideline with their hands out. I didn't see that, but I think Kool-Aid McKinstry kind of sets the bar for all DBs in college football this year.
Yeah, I tell you one of the things that I like, years past, we're in last year specifically, it's almost like we were just begging for Will Anderson to make a play, so that we could stop somebody. But this defense, everybody is doing something. I mean, man, Braswell, I thought, played a really good game on the other side opposite Dallas Turner. You didn't hear Dallas Turner's name a lot, but you saw how disruptive he was. And in the grand scheme of things, that's very important, But again, just everybody. Caleb Downs, the freshman, who I think is going to be another All-American. I mean, he looks the part. The Joker is a physical specimen. I mean, he just Jalen Key, the interception. I thought to myself, man, when's the last time we've seen an Alabama DB jump a route and make a pick like that? He just was in the right spot. Malachi Moore did a really good job, in the star. So it wasn't just looking for one person to hopefully make a play. Everybody was just involved and making plays and running to the ball, and the front seven was causing some issues. Not necessarily Dallas Turner making a bunch of sacks, but people were involved in causing them issues, and that was good to see, just from a team defense perspective.
Right. I mean, minus again Lawson, again a stud in the making. If he's not already there, that man, as a whole, again, when you can't necessarily single out one person,
right? Exactly.
I mean, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you got contributions from everybody on that side of the ball. Again, I don't remember missed tackles, whether it's one-on-one tackles we made. I know Caleb Downs, I know he made 2 or 3 one-on-one tackles in the open field. So yeah, I mean, the unit just again showed out. We'll see about this week.
This weekend will be a different story. I say a different story. It'll be a bigger challenge. But I just can't. So Maurice, is that attributed to Kevin Steele as the defensive coordinator? Is what we saw Saturday attributed to Kevin Steele?
I think Kevin Steele is an experienced coordinator, and he, the time that he was at Auburn, I think that's the only reason that Auburn had winning records. I don't think it had anything to do with Gus. I mean, although Gus had interesting offenses, Kevin Steele kept them in ball games. He's a seasoned professional coordinator. He knows it's not, I hate to say it, on the job learning. I think everything that happened the other night was a direct reflection of his knowledge and his experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement. Again, just the communication, the consistency, the togetherness. It looked like we just played as a unit. As you just said, it wasn't one person that was kind of doing everything. Everybody had a little bit, that had a little bit to do with everything that was going on. I was just very pleased with the performance. I know that it gets more challenging. Nick Saban said we're going to play against tougher opponents as the weeks go on, this week included. But for the first time, new coordinator, some new faces. I mean, listen, we replaced 7 guys. Not a bad job. I think they had 214 yards total offense. Not too shabby. And we got to see some new faces. We got to see some young guys get some playing time. And that was the other thing. We put our 2s and 3s in, and there wasn't a big drop off. It's not like they were going down and scoring. We've seen that in the past. So that was I was glad to see that as well. So overall, I'm definitely pleased with the defense. Really quick before we go to break, Maurice, if you had to give the defense a grade, what would it be?
Right. Well, overall, and I know you can't judge, anybody this first week because there was no great really games, maybe 2. So everybody played patsies. We come in at number 13 total defense overall. Texas is at 10 after playing Rice. I would give our defense after that game B+, A-. I like, and I think that they'll start to gel. You always associate the word gel with offenses, but I think this defense will start to gel even more so, especially in some coverages and the more that they're challenged. So right now I'm going to give them a B+, A-. I want to see, I love the pressure on the quarterback. I want to see that turned up even a higher notch.
Yeah.
And I think the potential's there. I honestly do.
Jimmy, do you disagree with the?
I would say A- to A, only because the only reason I'm not giving an A+ is because of what you're talking about, the pressure on the quarterback. But the fact that we created 2 turnovers, I didn't see any missed tackles, the communication. I mean, we took care of business against a lesser opponent. Again, we were prepared. I mean, from top to bottom, again, I would say A- to an A.
I was going to say A-. I'd like to see more pressure on the quarterback and that being controlled so that quarterback doesn't get away. Listen, that kid did fairly well using his feet, and we're going to play guys like Jaden Daniels. That's as we watch. He's really good with his feet. We're going to play better quarterbacks. And I want to see us get that pressure, but also be able to control that. So I'd say A-. But we're going to take a quick break, Maurice, and we'll come back in just a minute. We'll talk a little bit more about maybe we'll go to the quarterback question in just a minute. Hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Beam wins it on a last-second kickoff return, and it's all thanks to the Big G. He's only about a foot tall, and he's not great at catching since he doesn't have any arms. But boy, when he does, he's end-to-end in a blink thanks to that 1 gig speed that makes him so special. You can tell his teammates just love playing with him. Maybe a little too much. Gig speed from Beam, made for football, available everywhere.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. So we broke the defense down a little bit. I think everybody's on the same page. Everybody was excited. Jimmy, I'm going to go to you then. The elephant in the room last week when we did the show was, QB1, who is it going to be? We all felt like it was going to be Milroe. But we're going to talk about that. But what's your impression of our OC, Mr. Reese?
Well, from that standpoint, again, I thought we were prepared. He made things. It appeared that he made things easy for Milroe. There's a lot of easy throws. Obviously, our receivers, whether it was the receivers or whether it was the scheme, we had a lot of open receivers. It was not a whole lot of tight windows that Milroe was having to throw in. And again, to me, that's a reflection of the OC. I thought he called a great game. Again, we did what we had to do on that side of the ball as well. We were extremely balanced, which we'll get into that next segment as far as the stats go. But I thought he did a great job. We used our tight end when we needed to. He kind of gave us a little nibble, a little bit of everything of what this offense could be like.
Maurice.
I'm going to go C+, B-. I thought the offensive line could have done better. I saw a couple of times where Speed just got right by us. Missed blocks a couple of times, not a lot, but enough. And I wanted to, at 350 pounds average, I wanted to see, defensive linemen on every play being knocked backwards, and I didn't see it on every play. I think they too will get better, but I wanted to see a more rushing attack. I was impressed with Milrow a lot. Receivers are starting to step up. I saw some separation as far as who wanted the ball and who could be depended on. Milrow had two wide open plays that he overthrew and underthrew, but that'll get better. He looked confident. He looked comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Maurice. I had, if I was giving a grade to the offensive line, I had them at a B. I felt like, as you mentioned, at the average of 6'5", 340, my expectation was that we should have been way more dominant running the football. And I'm not talking about with the quarterbacks. Take that and put that over to the side. I'm talking about handing the ball off to Chase McClellan, Roydell Williams, Jan Miller, Justin Haynes. I never saw that gaping hole where those guys were able to really show what they have. They were, kind of fighting for yards and that sort of thing. Now, first game, new offensive front, first time in that type of action. But if I were grading them, I would have graded them at a B. I would have loved to have seen us run the football with more dominance. I'm not saying we didn't have success, but I'm looking at that offensive line and I'm saying we ought to be able to open some gaps and create some space. But overall, with their pass protection was pretty good. There were a couple of times, and even Saban mentioned what Middle Tennessee did with respect to a couple of their blitzes, and it created some confusion. But it was, I think they only sacked him twice. Overall, not too bad. I think Milrow looked very confident as the QB1 second start for him. I think he looked very confident. He looked calm. The first touchdown when the ball is kind of rolled back to him, he didn't freak out. He picks the ball up and makes it a 21-yard touchdown. In that type of situation, I don't know of a lot of people that can make that happen.
Well, you asked me about the coordinator, and I gave you my opinion on the coordinator. As far as the overall, the different position groups, I'm with you on the offensive line. I was kind of meh. But you also, if you went back and watched that game again, Middle Tennessee, they brought extra men
all the time,
single play.
Yeah.
There was never a one-on-one. There was
kind of their style.
There was pressure. There was blitzes. There were stunts. Extra people in the box every single play. So with that regard, I thought we handled that fairly well. I'm like y'all though. I really thought Jace or somebody was going to just have a blowout game, 150, 60 yards rushing, a couple of touchies, touchdowns, those gaping holes. I didn't say that, but again, you got to look at what they were doing.
Yeah.
On the other side of the ball. Wide receivers going into the game, all we heard and saw was how many drops, nobody stepping up. We didn't have a single drop pass out of that group. Again, the running backs ran hard. I honestly,
right.
I don't know, individual statistics, but they all ran really well. You see the explosiveness that they all have. I'm telling you, Jason Roydell, they're going to have big games this year.
I thought Tommy Rees did a pretty good job. I think, again, who really knows? I don't think he opened it up.
No.
Clearly, I think we were just more talented. We were bigger. We were more physical. So I think he did what we needed to do to win. I did agree with you, Maurice. I did like seeing some of our guys, get some separation, be able to separate from the defender and listen, Milrow, I don't know if the touchdown pass to Isaiah Bond, I don't know if you watched that play, but, he got rocked as soon as he threw the football. Guy in his face, you know,
And stayed in the pocket for a while to let that thing
yeah,
go too.
so
Don.
I was pretty pleased with Tommy Rees. I'm really interested to see how that shakes out this week against a tougher component when there's a little bit, bigger guy across the line and that sort of thing. So overall, I was pleased. Yes, Maurice, I'll let you speak.
That's me raising my hand.
Oh, okay.
Are you still here, Maurice?
That play that you're talking about, go back and look at it. Watch Milroe look at the safety. The safety makes a costly mistake and takes one step up at the snap. Milroe looks him off, and he knows he's going to have Burton. He's going to have him by a step. So he throws a beautiful ball just because the safety had misstepped or misread, and that allowed for the 6. So I give credit on that one to Milroe, again, being comfortable in reading it and making the decision, and threw him to the spot on the field.
Yeah, he threw some dimes. I mean, threw a dime to Isaiah Bond. He threw a dime to Niblack, which may have been the toughest.
Who's the stud?
Who's stud? As Saban pointed out, he's a matchup issue because he's got the size of a tight end, but he runs like a wide receiver. He's long. If you watched him catch that ball, he caught it with his fingertips. It was a perfectly thrown pass, and he threw a dime to Jermaine Burton. So
let me just say this, in case y'all were wondering, didn't know, Tide fans. Our quarterback from this past week, again, I'm not ready to crown us champions just yet, but he looked very poised. He was very comfortable. But he accomplished something that no other quarterback has ever done in the history of Alabama football.
Right.
He accomplished something. So he's got his name in the record books right now. Mo, you know what that is?
No, you go ahead.
3 touchdown passes and 2 rushing touchdowns in the same game. Nobody's ever done that before until this past Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Pretty impressive. Listen, the guy's 6'2", 220 and runs a 4.4 40, and he looks like a linebacker. I don't believe he's afraid when we were talking about stepping up in the pocket and being able to stand. I don't think he's afraid of contact. No. He's not avoiding it, that's for sure. I think he uses his feet when he needs to. Overall, I was really, really pleased. I was happy for him. Man, I know that he was relieved with, all of the questions about the competition and Buckner coming in. And of course, that's Tommy Rees's former quarterback and Ty Simpson. And I was happy for him to be able to play the game that he played, for us to get a win. And I was happy to see how he handled himself afterwards. Just talking about, I just want to get better. I'm playing for my guys. I'm playing for, the fans and that sort of thing. I was really pleased with how he handled himself afterwards. So kudos to him. Kudos to the offense. I would like to see our offensive line do a little bit more with the size that they have, but I think that will come. I think after a couple of games, we'll be able to see that a little bit more. So
the thing about that too is if Milroe can continue to get better and stay comfortable and be productive like he was Saturday, those holes, because again, a lot of those things were open. A lot of those passes were open just because of the stack line of scrimmage. Everybody was in that box. So teams continue to do that, and he plays that way. They'll have to start respecting that, which is going to open up that run game for us. So.
Yeah, no question. Well, so listen, Maurice, we're going to take a quick break again. We're going to come into the third segment. We got a big game coming up this week. I know everybody wants to kind of hear and talk about that, and I've got a couple of questions for you with respect to the Texas game. So hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Experience is key when selecting a flooring company. And at Huckabee Brothers Floor Covering, we bring unrivaled expertise to the table. From excellent flooring installations to swift and efficient water damage restoration, we've got you covered. Our commitment to customer satisfaction is unwavering. We take pride in exceeding customer expectations. Don't compromise on quality or convenience. Call Huckabee Brothers Floor Covering today, the ultimate choice for exceptional flooring solutions and unmatched customer satisfaction.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. Last segment for this show. Everybody's anticipating this game. People have been talking about it even prior to the Middle Tennessee State game. I'm going to tell you, I read something where Sarkisian said that they were preparing for Alabama in the offseason. How much, Maurice, number one, how much do you put into that? And do you think we were doing the same thing?
Well, I think Saban defensively, yeah, he's because Sarkisian is without a doubt one of the best, play callers and designers in the country offensively. So it's a great chess matchup between these two. I think Saban's been planning. I think Sark's been planning. And so I think, but the one thing Sark needs to realize, he ain't facing Pete Golden this year. And Kevin Steele is going to have a little bit better challenge than what he saw last year.
What do you have against Pete Golden, dude? Anyway,
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Pete Golden.
Jimmy,
Yes.
I have no question that there's no way that we weren't already preparing. I'm not saying full-blown game planning, but there was some preparation for Texas coming in on week 2.
I agree.
I can't, and I know Saban's probably saying one game at a time, and that's what our players say. But you can't convince me that the magnitude of this game with the way last year's game ended and the expectations that are there for Texas this year, all I keep hearing is how much better they are. And, even Saban praises Worthy, their wide receiver. And, I just can't imagine that we have not done some of our own preparation for Texas.
But see, I'm wondering this, and this goes for any program out there. I mean, they have one game of film from this year. And it was vanilla, like most everybody does as far as start the season.
Yeah.
I mean, how much film do you watch from last year? Because you got to think they're not going to come the same.
Different players.
Right, yeah, but you're not going to come back with the same stuff, right? So how do you really prepare for a team? I mean, I know you do, but it's like, I don't know. I'm asking the question. But yes, we've done something to get ready for them, whether it's not necessarily based on what we expect them to do, but what we want to do to try to dictate things on our end, as far as whether it be blitz packages and cover schemes and that kind of thing. Maybe we have already started working on that. And maybe that's where those in-game adjustments come in. Once we start seeing what they're doing, how good are we going to be, or how good is Kevin Steele going to be, or Coach Steele going to be making those adjustments?
Right. Maurice, you got any comment on that?
No, I just think it's going to be a great match. It's going to be a chess game between these Sarkisian, Steele, and Saban. It's going to be fun. So you can best believe that it's just going to be fun.
So without your crimson glasses on, look at both teams. We're taking, we just talked about the chess match with the coaches. When you look at both teams, who's the most talented?
Oh, without a doubt, Bama is. Texas, it used to be they don't have to, they have next year's class or the year after because it's the state of Texas. Well, that's great, but I mean, there's still talent all over the country. I think I really don't think Texas has had. I mean, just go back and look at the NFL drafts. It's all SEC, but I think by far we have, just go through every position. I think we have the advantage. And heck, a lot of our good players are from Texas, so I give it the edge to Bama.
Jimmy,
on the talent. Oh, absolutely. We're more talented. Do we have as much experience? No, because Texas does return a ton of players. Obviously, we talked about the fact that we're starting a lot of new faces. We have a lot of new faces on both sides of the ball. And that's where Kevin Steele comes in, I think. I think we'll be fully prepared. I think we'll have something for them as far as schemes go. My only concern, honestly, are the two guys that are questionable right now. The two starting
Malachi Moore and Jalen Key.
Yeah, I mean, those guys played really well this past week, and if we don't have those guys, granted, again, we're deep, we're very talented,
especially in that area.
We're very talented, but like we just said, at least Malachi is definitely one of the returning guys, and now we're not going to have that guy. So now we got to put an inexperienced guy in there, granted talented, but inexperienced.
Well, I don't know if you saw number
So-
9, Amos, come in the other
Oh, yeah.
night.
I'm saying, I mean, we have the talent, but we don't have the experience. And that would be my only concern. Not that it's enough to that I'm going to say we're going to lose the game, but that would be my only concern right now. Would be just the fact that we lost 2 of our starting DBs.
Well, one of the things I do like, I agree. There's no way that you can continue to have the number 1, number 2 recruiting class in the country and not be as talented or more talented than everybody you play. But the one thing that I like that I was reading yesterday and today is our guys have a little bit of an attitude. There's, I don't know if y'all read the thing about the Lank little, if they put,
Acronym.
I mean, they are playing with an attitude. And I'm going to tell you something. We've said this before. A lot of times, heart, will beat talent when talent has no heart. But I think we've got a little bit of both. I'm really waiting to see Saturday night because Texas is going to come in on a mission because they feel like we kind of cheated death last year. They feel like they are the better team. Sarkisian has them prepared. I have no doubts. So I'm really anxious to see that attitude because when you can combine attitude and talent
And preparation.
and with the coaching, staff, the preparation, I don't know, man, that's a nice recipe for success. But I am, Maurice, we talked about attitude a lot over the past few years or the lack thereof from some of our teams. And I think this team has a different attitude. Do you agree with that, Maurice?
100%. They've got a different attitude. Like I saw the other night, it's not just to play on the field. I saw them on the sideline all coming together. So everything that they've been saying, SEC media days and everything sound like the right thing, but is it something that they actually believe? What I saw the other night was them giving 100% and wanting to do better and working with each other and encouraging it. It was the first time I've seen them as a team like that since 2020.
What about, think about this. And not that Bryce Young or Will Anderson weren't great teammates because they were leaders, they were great teammates. But man, that's all you heard last year.
Absolutely.
Bryce Young and Will Anderson, Bryce Young, Will Anderson.
Yeah.
Well, now you don't have that. So now these guys feel like, again, they're maybe more they got more of a, what's the word I'm trying to think? Just
Chemistry?
Chemistry, just actually just the camaraderie, I guess, if you want to put it that way. That they know, again, it's just more of a team.
Well, I think I mentioned it in the previous show. A lot of times our guys relied on Bryce Young or Will Anderson to make a play. And to your point, I think this year they're relying on each other to make those plays instead of just one person on both sides of the ball. I can't take anything away from either of those guys. First and third draft picks, fantastic players. They call Bryce Young the Houdini. But I'm going to be honest, I made this statement, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to go on TV say from an athletic perspective, I think Jalen Milroe is the better athlete than Bryce Young. Now, he doesn't have the brain yet. Bryce Young was a different animal with respect to pre-snap reads, and he knew where the ball needed to go and that sort of thing. I think Milroe will get there, but from just an athletics perspective, arm, size, speed, all of those things, Jalen Milroe is the better of the two. That's difficult to say when you're talking about the number 1 draft pick overall, but I believe it's the reality. In saying that, I don't believe our guys are looking for Jalen Milroe to be the only one to pull them out at the last minute, and Will Anderson to have to make a sack or a tackle behind, for a loss. They're looking at each other to do that.
And
Maurice?
that's why I want to bring that up. That was my whole point. So I think that's gonna make a difference this year for sure.
All right, Mo, so it's prediction time. Week 2, 7 o'clock game in Tuscaloosa, sorry.
Easy for you to say.
Hey, right, easy for me to say.
Teeth are slipping.
What's your take on the game Saturday night?
Honestly, about a month or two ago, I had Texas beating us, but after watching our game and watching part of Texas, the line was 7.5. It's at 7. I think we cover nicely. I think it's a more focused team, and I'm going to go 35-17.
35-17.
Nice.
Yep.
You know, I was reading this week, and I don't know the exact numbers, but they were basically saying what Texas's record is in the last, so many number of years on the road. They haven't played in front of more than 70,000 people in 15 years, and they've only won 5 or 6 games and lost 20 some odd games on the road. I feel like Tuscaloosa, Bryant Denny will be rocking. I think they'll come in. That'll have an impact on the games. But look, we're going to be challenged, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
I think their receiving group is probably the best we'll face. Their quarterback is no slouch. So I think we will be challenged. I think Kevin Steele will have us ready. Again, my only concern, like I mentioned before, is those 2 starting DBs. But I think we handle business. I think I do. I'm like Mo. I think we cover. I don't know if we'll score 35. I'm thinking I was thinking 24, 27-13, 27-14, something like that.
I believe we'll cover. I believe it will be challenging. I think 10 points-ish. I'm glad we're at home. I do believe that the crowd makes a huge difference for us. I do not believe that Texas can have a slow start against us like they did against Rice this past weekend. I think ball control is going to be huge. Who has the least amount of turnovers makes the least amount of mistakes. I believe it's going to be a 38-28 Tide win. But again, really glad we're playing this game at home because I believe it's going to be very important. I've read some of the similar stuff that you read with respect to Texas and playing on the road and capacity and that sort of thing. I don't know that some of those guys have seen Bryant Denny at night like it's going to be on Saturday night. So it's going to be fun to watch. I'm sure we'll all be talking as usual during the game, but we'll regroup next week and talk again, and hopefully we'll be talking about a Tide win, and we'll discuss the breakdown of the game and then talk about the next game coming up. So Maurice, we'll see you next week, and Tide fans, come back and join us right here on Channel 207. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.